Sorry.
It's okay.
Ay, ay, ay. Everybody is going like crazy. When you speak in the lives of our young people, oh my gosh. I tell you what, it's a powerful, beautiful thing. And I just want to share my experience with you. Thank you so much for that. I just want to share my experience with you after my speaking engagement today with the youth at the juvenile justice system, the conference today. And you can really tell that they were really hurting inside. Thank you so much, Alex. And afterwards, I had a whole jar of mustard seeds, and usually I charge for this, you know, for my books and everything. But what I was grateful for is that the officials that were there, even though they knew these kids couldn't buy the book on their own, and you know, people were in there buying books for the kids and said, whoever this is for, they sponsoring books for kids. And I know at one time I used to complain about nobody sponsoring and pouring into our kids, but then, you know, here they came, they were pouring into our children. And so afterwards, right, I was like, okay, I got free gifts for y'all, because I like to give out gift cards. As you guys know, I do contests on here, and I give things away out for free without any obligations behind it or anything else. And I told these kids, and they came up to me, they said, you got something for me? Because I always tell them, like, come to me, I got something for you. And so they came afterwards, and I thought I had my mustard seeds in the car, in my hand, but they're at the car. So I said, follow me to the car. And so they've all followed me. Y'all should have seen, it was a sea of kids following me to the car. And these kids, every time I gave them a mustard seed, I spoke life over them. So much so, some girl was like, you forgot to speak over me. You forgot to speak life over me. I said, okay, give me the mustard seeds back. And so she gave them back to me. I said, okay. And I had to hold the mustard seeds in my hand and then speak life to them and then give them the mustard seed. Oh, you should have seen. Y'all should have seen how, and I didn't want to scope it because it was personal to them. And one girl, she said to me, she said, I don't know why I'm following you everywhere. She said, but my spirit just won't let me leave you. And I said, oh my gosh. So I spoke to her. You know, this kid, see, this is why I tell you that regardless of what you're going through, it's not even about you. It's not even about you. Why do I say it's not about you? Not just so you can be humble or be selfish. No, it's not about you, because that young girl, oftentimes you go through things to prevent others from going in. You either encourage those who might be in that mess right then and there, or you show them that nothing is impossible and God can make a way out of no way. That little girl said to me, I had to wait till all the kids left, because whatever she wanted to talk to me about, whatever she wanted to say to me on that time, I knew it was real personal to her, because she just grabbed my hand. And as I was walking towards the car, she grabbed my hand and was holding my hand. And she was holding my arm as if she was my daughter. And when we pour into our children as if they are our own, I was holding on to her hand like she was my daughter, and spoke life into her as if she was my daughter, as if I needed someone to speak life into me, as if I wanted somebody to speak life into my daughter. And she said, Miss Lee, you don't know this. She said, but last night, her parents, she's an adopted kid. Her parents didn't care about her. This is how she felt. My mother left me when I was only 4 months old at the fire station. I don't even know who my father is. But my grandmother, she's still in my life. But they don't know how long my grandmother has to live. And I feel like my grandmother is the only thing I have left, Miss Lee. She said, things are not going great for me here in Georgia, Miss Lee. She said the kids pick on me at school and they don't even know what I'm going through. The teachers tell me that I'm not going to be this, and they're just so mean to me. My adopted parents, yes, they brought me in, but they just give me such a hard time because they never been adopted before, so they don't understand what I'm going through. She said, Miss Lee, you don't know this, that I'm all out of options, Miss Lee. And I wanted to just give up and commit suicide last night. And she said, I just cried myself to sleep. I was crying so hard that I fell asleep. Ain't that something? How God will even touch you to make you go to sleep so you won't even commit suicide. Ain't that something? Just for an appointed time as this, for me to speak life over her. And she said, Miss Lee, how you felt on that day of wanting to give up and commit suicide. That's how I felt last night. A teenager, 14 years old. 14 years old. A teenager. Beautiful young girl said that she felt just like me. And what if I would have given up on that day? I always think about that. What if I would have killed myself that day? What if that lady didn't pour into me when I couldn't believe in myself? What if I would have procrastinated when I was writing my book? What if I was saying self-defeating thoughts and said I wasn't good enough? What if I didn't start when God told me to start? What if I would have just said, you know what, forget this, ain't nobody sponsoring books for these kids? What if I would have said that and just gave up? What if I would have put the excuse on because I didn't have enough money at the time? What if I would have said, you know what, I don't even have a computer and didn't get my butt up and took myself to the library to write my book? What if? I always think about this what if, because if I killed myself that day, how many lives would have been lost? How many kids would have been lost? Another soul would have been lost. Another parent would have given up on their child, because it's not about me. It's not about you. If you're listening to this Periscope right now, I'm letting you know, I don't know what you might be going through, what you might be thinking, or the thoughts that you have in your head, but I'm letting you know there is somebody out here that needs to hear your story. There is somebody out here that needs to know that it's not impossible. There's somebody out here that needs to know that they're not going through by themselves. There's somebody out here that needs to know that you feel their pain and tell them how you made it out. It's somebody out here that needs your resource. It's somebody out here that just needs a hug. Somebody out here that needs you to smile at them. There's somebody out here that needs for you to remind them how beautiful they are. To remind how strong and powerful they are. What if I would have given up? She would have been gone. And that could have been your child. That's all I have to say. You need to start speaking into the lives of our young people as if they're your own children. As if it was you at that time. What would you would have had to said to yourself to make you made a different decision on that day to keep going? And the same thing that lady done told me on the day I wanted to commit suicide was the same thing I told her. And I gave her those words. She just stood there and she just cried. She just cried. And I just cried with her. That's why I'm all sweaty. That's why my makeup looks a mess right now. But you know what? At that moment, it was a divine moment at that time. And I just wanted her to know that she wasn't by herself. And there's somebody out here that is rooting for her. There's somebody out here that is cheering her on. There is someone out here that still believes that she can do it impossible. I told her to stop speaking death over her life. And I said, you know what, Lord? Y'all was on here with me on Periscope. And on Periscope, before I even went to my speaking engagement, we prayed together. And everything that I said and I prayed in that prayer, it happened instantaneously. I said, Lord, I'm going there to uplift and not tear down. To speak life and not to speak death. To build up the lives of our young people. To speak love and not hate, with no judgment. These kids, can you believe it? Kids, that we were in the roughest part of Atlanta, and people in the news, in the media, and even people on Facebook posting up this crap about our kids, about our black kids, there was white kids there too. There were Spanish kids there too. There was Latino kids there too. So it's not just black kids. These kids were begging me for a book. There's no reason why. Y'all need to leave Periscope and go to my GoFundMe page right now and go to GoFundMe /500 books and sponsor a kid for this book. These kids said, speak over my life. You forgot me, Miss Lee? Miss Lee, I need you to speak over my life. One kid said, Miss Lee, everything that you spoke over my life, can you write it down for me? Can you write what you just said over my life? Can you write it down for me? What in the world? Now, these are the same kids that the media that everybody else done written off, that told me that they want something else other than the words of the Lord to be spoken over. They told me that they don't read no more. They told me these kids don't want to write no more. They told me all these different things on how bad they are. But they came to me out of all the things they could do. They came to me, they came to the officers because they were searching. They were searching for their oneness. They were searching for themselves. They just needed a hug, a heart, and for somebody to speak life. You keep speaking life into these kids. It ain't about you. It is not about you. It is not about you. Those kids were hurting. I didn't say they are hurting. Were hurting. Because once they left today, I'm telling you, their spirits left so filled up. They look like different types of kids. They look different. They look different to me. They look so different. They were so attentive. They were so engaged. And I just thank God for using me, a broken vessel, and turned it into his masterpiece. I'm so grateful for God when I was along my journey, and on those days I felt like giving up, and on those days where I felt like nobody was listening to me, and on those days where people was talking down to me, and on those days that people were saying that what I could not do, and I could have believed all those lies. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful. You know who you are. I'm so grateful for people that coming to me and lifting me up, to reminding me what I'm doing this for. I'm so grateful for people that say, Desiree, you cannot give up. Your message is too powerful. You cannot give up. I know what it looks like, Desiree, but you cannot give up. So I say the same thing to you. Whatever you might be seeing right now, you can't give up. I don't care. I don't give a damn what it looks like to you right now. You cannot give up. There's kids out there. There are children out there. There's parents out there. Those parents was like, thank you for reminding me to make sure my child feels safe. Thank you for reminding me to speak love over my kids and not hate. Thank you for reminding me that I need to rebuild the relationship and stop being so strict and open up the lines of communication. Thank you, Miss Lee, because you don't know I was struggling. Thank you for reminding me, a parent. A pastor came up to me. You know, I'm 56 years old, and the message that you shared today was for me too. It wasn't just for our young people, it was for me too. I'm telling y'all think I'm playing. Y'all better keep speaking life into these young people, because they might, your words and the seed that you plant might be the only seed someone plants in their whole entire life. It is my prayer that we live long enough to see the harvest from the seeds that we have planted in our young people. I love you guys. I hope this has blessed you. I hope you guys stay encouraged. I hope you guys stay encouraged. I tell you what, it was just something. It was something. It was something. I just don't know. Every time I leave these children, they now are my children. And every time I just leave these children, I'm just like, Lord, what can I do? What is it that we can do together? What is it that we can do for our young people? Lord, tell me, help me, show me, because Lord, this is what I need right now. I tell you what, I never experienced that. Out of all the kids that came, they came up to me, y'all, and they was like, these kids, these girls and young men, these girls that came up to me, and they said, Miss Lee, speak life over me. I ain't never heard that from no kids. And these are kids like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, all the way up to 25 years old. And these kids came up to me and said, Lord, Miss Lee, can you speak life over me? I said, what? Wow. Wow. So look, I can't do it all by myself. It's only together that we can do what we can never do alone. And so I want to reach more kids. So this is what I'm saying to you, because I want to reach more kids. What I'm saying to you is that you today make it. I challenge you. I put the charge, the call of action to you guys who are watching this today. If there's one child you come across to today, speak life. And that's another kid we done spoke life to. If there's another teenager over the weekend, or make it a conscious thought that if you come to a kid and you see a kid in a grocery store, or if you open up a door and you look at their parents and say, hey, Mom. Always speak to the parents, say, hey, Mom, thank you so much for loving this child. And I want you to know, Mom, don't give up. It may seem as though that those kids are not listening to you. It may seem like it's going through one ear after the other, but you keep pouring into your child, Mom or Dad. And then you look at that child and you tell him and you speak life. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever is in your heart at that time, whatever is in your spirit, you speak life over that child. Don't speak death. Don't tell that kid what he shoulda, coulda done, or what she's supposed to be doing. Or don't even say listen to your mom. They know to listen to their mom. No, speak life. Speak life to that child. Tell him what you see. What you see, what he could become, or what you see she could become. Speak life. I looked at a young kid, I think he was like 6 years old. And as we were walking to my car, he come running up to me. He said, so in prison, when you were in prison, Miss Lee, did they have like the sticks? You know, in his own way, he was trying to understand what it was that I went through. I said, yeah, they had those sticks in there, man. I said, you know, they treat inmates like dogs. I said, that's not where you want to be. I said, you ever seen a dog? Sometimes you forget to feed the dog, right? He said, yes. I said, see, sometimes they forget to feed us. And I said, you know how you put the dog in the cage, or you put him on the tree with a thing or whatnot? I said, that's how they did us. I said, sometimes they put us inside the cell, and then they forget that they didn't give us lunch or dinner, and then we don't eat for that day. He's like, oh my gosh. So he came to the car, he said, can I have some mustard seeds too? I said, yeah. I looked at the little kid, boy, that little kid, he stood up like this looking at me. He stood up, his head held high. I said, listen to me, young man. I said, listen to me, young man. I said, don't you ever be afraid to stand boldly in front of millions of people, in front of teachers or your peers. Don't you ever be afraid. You always have courage in your heart and in your words. You speak with authority, young man. And he looked at me. I said, let me tell you a secret. Having courage is not being afraid. Having courage is being scared to death and still getting up there anyway. Having courage is being afraid that you might not make it and still getting up there anyway. Having courage is like not sure. You're not even sure if you're going to win the race, but you get on that line anyway and you run. You have courage, young man, and you stand up. You stand boldly in front of those people, and you stand up, young man. I kid you not, he's like 6 or 7 years old. He said, yes, ma'am, Miss Lee. And he stood with his shoulders back like that. And he said, yes, ma'am, Miss Lee. And all of the other kids and teenagers said, oh, man, did you see how he was listening to Miss Lee? He gonna remember that for the rest of his life. Bam. Speak life. You plant those seeds. One plants, one waters, and it's God who brings the increase. One plants, one waters, and it's God that brings the increase. Now I've done planted that seed. Now I'm trusting and believing in God. He's gonna put people in that young man's life to water that seed, to cultivate that seed, to pull up the weeds around that seed. And I looked at his mom. I said, I pray that I'm alive to see the harvest from that seed. Don't forget to pour into our kids. Everybody else already done spoke death over our kids. They done said, oh, black kids, they ain't nothing. They done lost it. They done forgot it. The kids ain't raised up. The music ain't like it was when we were young. These kids are just doing something reckless. These kids are fighting each other and killing each other. What you expect something different of the police killing our kids? This is what we are saying. I'm saying we. Why do I say we? Because when I go on my Facebook page, that's why I see parents posting. That's why I see the media saying in the news. That's what I'm reading in the newspaper. That's what I'm hearing the teachers, when they call me to come in, they speak death over these kids. These bad kids. They so bad and their parents ain't doing nothing. They always speaking death over these kids. Stop speaking death and start speaking life and start seeing a change. Stop speaking death and start speaking life and you'll start seeing a change. Let me tell you something. God did not bury you. God did not bury those kids. Do you understand me? And see, the enemy thought he buried you. Let me tell you the difference. When you go to a funeral or when you go somewhere, people bury things that are dead. When a plant dies, you bury it. When an animal dies, you bury it. When it dies, that's when you bury it. When it dies, you always bury it, right? So you bury things that die. But the awesome thing about it, in the same soil, with the same shovel, you plant things that grow. So you don't plant a seed because it's not dead. You plant a seed so it can grow. So stop burying these kids with the words off of your lips because you think that they are dead. But they are not dead. They are alive. Stop burying these kids with the words of death over their lives, because you are speaking death and they are not dead. You only bury things that are dead, not are about to die. I never saw a person got buried in a cemetery that was about to die. Everybody who's about to die is still fighting to live. I never saw somebody go into under the ground, or a dog that was about to die, they buried it, or a plant that was about to die, they already buried it. I never seen that happen before. Only when something dies, that's when you bury it. But the thing about it is, in the same soil with the same shovel, you plant it so it can grow. So you speak life and you plant those seeds. Plant those seeds so it can grow. Y'all stop playing around now, because everybody else is speaking death over those kids, over your kids, over my kids, over my life, over your life. Stop it. Stop it. Because we will never see a change when we keep speaking death. And just like Pastor V said in his Bible study, he said a spark of fire can burn down a whole forest. Just one flick of a match can burn down a whole forest. Think about it. One match, one spark of fire can burn down a whole forest. And your words is like fire. And you don't want to burn down that whole forest. So speak life. So like my favorite rapper said one time, Tupac. And just like Tupac, I say the same thing. Tupac said, I'm not saying I can change the world, but I guarantee you this, I will spark the mind